Hello, good evening, and welcome back. We have some good news as Gab is federating itself. So, Mastodon attempts to censor free speech social network Gab by blocking its domain. By Didier Yankovic, July 6, 2019, from reclaimthenet.org. And this is important. Federating means to decentralize itself, to be so that it can never be shut down because it is in no one particular place. It belongs to everybody who uses it. It's similar to cryptocurrency and how decentralized that is. And because Gab is all for free speech, doesn't care about hate speech, and it wishes to just uphold the First Amendment in America, there is no one place you can go to in order to shut it down, as it is now all open source and freely available to everyone. I highly encourage anybody who likes social media and sharing content, who use things like Facebook and Twitter, to go to gab.ai, as well as, and of course, the creator of Gab was in the Rose Garden at Trump's social media censorship meeting, which is where Tim Pool was as well. As much as that's been smeared, saying, there wasn't anyone for social media, like Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg. Well, Mark Zuckerberg has been proven to have lied to the US government, and Jack Dorsey has had many talkings with Donald Trump, so it's not as if they haven't had a fair hearing before. And seeing as the leader of Gab was there, then there is still a social media presence there. But the idea is that it is to be against censorship and what can be done. And as Dixon66 says, that it's about the money, and it isn't just silencing conservatives, but it's silencing any independent journalists. They seem to think they're in this ivory tower, or that they are the elites, and therefore any independent who isn't part of their corporation or their system should be given a platform or a space or an availability to voice their own opinion if they haven't been endorsed by great large money backing. So, in an ideal or even just a reasonably fair internet world, this wouldn't and really couldn't be even an issue. But in the real online world, it seems the US's Constitution First Amendment has become a sticking point, and a big one, and for a whole host of digital players, big and small alike, a sticking point in terms of to respect or not to respect. So they say US internet private companies like Google, Facebook and Twitter choose to exercise their right not to take on the principles or free speech. Questions still remain. It's basically saying, do they want to be a platform or a publisher? If they wish to be a publisher, then they are responsible for all the content on their sites, and if they just wish to be a platform, then they aren't, but that also means that they can't restrict what is said on their platform, as they aren't editorializing at all. So they say, the First Amendment rule is said to be obligatory only for state institutions. Is there actually another rule? What against private companies who may decide of their own free will or conscience to comply with it? And the issue here is, of course, that the Supreme Court ruled that Trump cannot block people on Twitter because it becomes a public space. It is then a public forum, and it is no longer a private space. And similar, sure, then any government-funded group who uses Twitter can't block people, and any public representatives can't be blocked, and they can't block anybody else either, which is why people, including Joey Salads, are trying to sue Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for blocking so many people on Twitter. If the president can't do it because he's a public official, then why can any other public official? So they go on to explain the Fediverse and Mastodon, which was one of the first to make a name for itself in the Fediverse of Decentralised, and they are very much against Gab because they do create a distinction of hate speech, and they do hate it. So they say, in a post on Mastodon's blog, this open decentralized social networking service that doesn't even have a central server to control stated they were completely opposed to Gab's project and philosophy, which seeks to monetize and platform racist content while hiding behind the banner of free speech. By a percentage, their hate speech isn't much more than Twitter, and by the same monetize, PayPal wanted to pull the plug on it, so I'm not sure how they could even monetize their platform as it stands. And with a decentralized, it's difficult to know who could then collect revenue. But Mastodon's blog post vows to remain committed to standing up against hate speech, however you wish to define that. It's basically just anybody who disagrees with us is hateful. Our new server covenant means we only list servers on joinmastodon.org that are committed to active moderation against racism, sexism, and transphobia. If it points in one direction, you can be anti-white, anti-male, anti-cis, or anti-straight, and that's fine, obviously. And they have tried to blacklist and block any Gab plugins and anyone who wishes to use Gab. Of course, given that this is decentralized, it is unlikely that this can have any verifiable effect, and the Fediverse wasn't all that well known before Gab decided to enroll itself within it in its decentralized control. So, they said, we do not currently know if any other apps are doing the same, of blacklisting Gab's domains. Mastodon itself allows instance owners to decide which domains to block. Most servers in the Fediverse are already blocking the Gab domains, and we have done the same at mastodon.social. Reacting to Mastodon's restrictive move, Gab's Twitter account said the Mastodon community was sabotaging their own app developers with mass flagging reporting of any app that does not block Gab's domain. But apparently pulling the big money-controlled, compromised, and utterly untrustworthy internet back from the clutches of its current centralized owners will not be as easy as adopting a common protocol, or a new, in name at least, politically and ideologically agnostic decentralized service. Because originally, of course, they were against big government, as the left has been. It's all hippie man, and not wishing to endorse the big corporations because of its crony capitalism, its corruption at its finest. And yet, of course, that isn't actually the case. It isn't on a moral ground or an ethical ground. It is just, hey, if you're someone we don't like, we will stop you, and we will use the guise of whatever we can in order to enforce this on a seemingly moral ground. So, the conclusion is, hate it or love it, it seems to be living up to its promise of a decentralized social platform respecting free speech, while Mastodon seems to be massively struggling with its own mission statement. This is sponsored by Brave, the browser, and similarly, I will be using that soon. I also recommend using DuckDuckGo as a search engine instead of Google, given how it deranks, blocks certain content that I'm sure you would like to be able to see, given I'm sure you're also committed to free speech, as am I. And with Peterson's new service coming up, which only wishes to remove things if required to by a court order, we will see how that goes, as it has already been Smith Think Tank, I believe it is called. And I have made a video of this a little while back when it was Smith, even before it was launched. So, let me know what you guys think below. Do you think that decentralized is then a good idea? Do you think anybody can now stop Gab? Will you be using it if you don't already, or do you already? How long have you been using it for? I am interested to know what you guys think, so please do post it in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video around, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.